Hi, I'm Ashley and I am going to present Report and Trace ring signatures, which was presented at Cannes 2021, joint work with Elizabeth Quaglia, and was completed whilst both authors were at Royal Holloway. I'll first present a summary of the contributions in this work and then provide details of each contribution. So we defined Report and Trace ring signatures, a new primitive that extends the notion of standard ring signatures to support the ability to report malicious messages and to trace the signer of such messages. We provided a security model for report and trace signatures and presented a generic construction accompanied with a security analysis. We then detailed an instantiation of our construction and outlined the efficiency of our generic construction and instantiation. Finally, we extended report and trace to the multiple reporter setting and showed that our generic single reporter construction can be extended to the multiple reporter setting straightforwardly. Now, standard ring signatures allow users to generate key pairs and sign a message on behalf of a set of users known as a ring. The signer selects the ring and is anonymous within it. The signature is publicly verifiable, but each ring member is equally likely to have produced the signature. As such, ring signatures do not offer any guarantee of traceability. In other words, it is not possible to revoke anonymity and trace the identity of the signer. Accountable ring signatures, on the other hand, provide a balance of anonymity and traceability. By default, unlike standard ring signatures, signers are anonymous within the ring, can select the ring, and can generate their own key pairs. Accountable ring signatures differ from standard ring signatures by introducing a new entity, the designated tracer, who can reveal the identity of the signer. Now, we noted that often in practice, before the designated tracer reveals the identity of a signer, a user will report a malicious message to the tracer. However, the role of the reporter is omitted from the syntax and security model of accountable ring signatures. As a consequence, it is implicit in the security model for accountable ring signatures that the tracer is trusted to reveal a signer's identity only if the signer has signed a malicious message. In the event that a tracer must receive a report, it is also implicit that the tracer is trusted to only begin tracing if a report has been submitted. A second consequence is that it is not possible to make formal statements about the privacy of the reporter. So in this work, we formally model reporting of malicious messages to the tracer and require that a report is made in order to trigger the tracing process. In this way, we distribute trust amongst the tracer and a set of reporters and ensure that the tracer can reveal the signer's identity if and only if they first receive a report. We ensure that the signer is anonymous until tracing is complete, so that is, reporting does not reveal anything about the signer's identity. And by incorporating a reporting mechanism into our syntax and security model, we also guarantee that the reporter is anonymous throughout and after the tracing process, even to the designated tracer. Okay, so a report and trace ring signature involves the following entities. Firstly, as in standard ring signatures, signers with access to their own public secret key pair and the public key of a designated tracer can generate publicly verifiable signatures. Reporters can use the reporter key pair to generate a report. We model reporters as ring members, which means that we can simplify our syntax and incorporate a reporter key pair within the signer key pair. The report is then submitted to the designated tracer, who can revoke the signer's anonymity. Now, anybody can verify the correctness of the report and trace by running a public verification algorithm. So I'll now outline the security properties for a report and trace ring signature. We begin by extending standard notions of anonymity and unforgeability for standard ring signatures to the report and trace setting. We then introduce traceability, a requirement that comprises several security notions that are adapted from the accountable ring signature literature. We complete our security model with the new notion of reporter anonymity, which states that a reporter is anonymous throughout tracing and after tracing is complete. Okay, so in a bit more detail, anonymity is the property that a signature does not reveal the identity of the signer unless the signature is reported and the signer traced. Formally, we adapt the anonymity definition of Bender-Katz-Marcelli, capturing anonymity against adversarially generated keys, meaning that the adversary can generate keys on behalf of signers and reporters. However, like accountable ring signatures, we require that the tracer cannot be corrupted or controlled by the adversary. Then we have unforgeability, which requires that an attacker cannot output a valid signature on behalf of an honest user, even if an attacker can trace the identity of signers through the report and trace functionality. Our formal unforgeability notion extends unforgeability for standard ring signatures by requiring that unforgeability holds even if the adversary controls the tracer. We then define three security notions that we collectively refer to as traceability. Firstly, trace correctness requires that an honestly generated signature traces to the correct signer. That is, if a signer generates a signature and the reporter submits a report, the correct signer's identity will be revealed by the tracer. Secondly, non-frameability states that the report and trace process cannot verifiably identify a non-signer as the signer. This is similar to the non-frameability notion for accountable ring signatures, defined by Buttel et al., and allows the adversary to control the tracer and all users, except for the signer that is identified by the trace. We ensure that in adapting non-frameability to report and trace, the property holds even if all potential reporters are controlled by the adversary. And finally, we have trace soundness, which requires that the signer identified by the report and trace mechanism is unique. We cast the trace soundness definition by Buttel et al. Into our syntax, considering an adversary that can control all signers, reporters, and the tracer. We complete our security model with a new property, reporter anonymity. Reporter anonymity requires that the report submitted to the designated tracer does not reveal which potential reporter produced it. So our formal definition models an attacker that can control all but two potential reporters and can control the tracer. So we now present details of a report and trace ring signature construction. It relies on the following cryptographic building blocks, so a secure one-way function, a standard public key encryption scheme which is secure against chosen plaintext attacks, a zero-knowledge proof system that satisfies completeness, knowledge soundness, and zero knowledge, and a signature of knowledge that satisfies correctness, simulatability, and extractability. Now, in a construction, during setup, each user generates a signing key pair from one-way function f, so that's pk subscript rs and sk subscript rs, and a reporter key pair for the public key encryption scheme, so that's pk subscript pka and sk subscript pke. The designated tracer generates a tracer key pair for the pke scheme. Okay. Then, to sign a message, the signer generates a fresh key pair for the encryption scheme. The freshly generated decryption key, which is sk subscript sign, is known as the reporter token, and it is encrypted to all members of the ring using the public reporter key of each ring member. So that's pk subscript pke for each ring member. The signer then uses a double layer of encryption to encrypt the public signing key pk subscript rs. Firstly, they encrypt it under the public key of the tracer, and then they encrypt it under the freshly generated encryption key. The signer also provides a zero-knowledge proof that each reporter ciphertext encrypts the reporter token, and a signature of knowledge that the double encrypted ciphertext encrypts the signer's public reporter key. So, by using a double layer of encryption, we ensure that a reporter and tracer are required to reveal the signer's identity. So the The tracer requires the reporter token to remove the double layer of encryption, and the reporter token can only be recovered by the reporter. The signer is anonymous if the encryption scheme satisfies NCPA security. The zero-knowledge proof system is zero knowledge and knowledge sound, and the signature of knowledge is simulatable and extractable. And secondly, unforgeability follows as a result of the one-wayness of function F and extractability of the signature of knowledge. Okay. Then, to report a message, a ring member decrypts the reporter token using their private reporter key. The reporter also generates a zero-knowledge proof of correct decryption. Because the reporter token is a freshly generated decryption key, it doesn't reveal anything about the signer's identity, so the signer remains anonymous. As each reporter decrypts the same reporter token, reporter anonymity is guaranteed if the zero-knowledge proof satisfies zero knowledge and knowledge soundness. Okay. Then, to reveal the signer's identity, the designated tracer removes a double layer of encryption, which is used to encrypt the signer's identity, and they provide a zero-knowledge proof of correct decryption under the tracer's public key. Our construction satisfies traceability if function F is one way, the zero-knowledge proof is complete and knowledge sound, and the signature of knowledge is correct and extractable. Okay. Now, our construction can be instantiated using standard, well-known primitives from the literature. So we presented an instantiation that uses group exponentiation for the one-way function and Elgamal encryption to encrypt the reporter token and perform the double layer of encryption generated during signing. To prove that the correct reporter token is encrypted to each ring member, we use a Sigma protocol that proves the ciphertext encrypt a discrete log, and we modify the signature of knowledge used in the accountable ring signature by Buto et al., modified to account for the double layer of encryption used in our construction. And finally, we use a standard Sigma protocol to prove correct decryption of the signer's identity by the tracer. So our construction is similar to Buto et al.'s accountable ring signature, but it does incur additional computation as a result of the reporting function. So in the accountable ring signature, to sign a message, the signer simply encrypts their identity under the tracer's public key. In our construction, we require a double layer of encryption rather than the single layer to ensure that a reporter and tracer are required to revoke the signer's anonymity. We also require that a reporter token is encrypted to a set of reporters, and a zero-knowledge proof of correct encryption ensures that the correct token is encrypted. Tracing is similar in both constructions, requiring that the tracer decrypt a ciphertext. So the tracer of an accountable ring signature must remove a single layer of encryption, but as you might imagine, in our construction, the tracer removes a double layer. Now, these additional computations in our construction do incur some costs, but by using the efficient primitives that we have in our instantiation, these costs are not too prohibitive. So for example, for signing, the double layer of encryption and signature of knowledge require minor adjustments to the protocols used in the accountable ring signature construction. However, because our report and trace construction requires the encryption of a freshly generated key to all ring members and an accompanying zero-knowledge proof, signing costs are linear in the size of the ring. Reporting, which is unique to our construction, requires the computation of a single group element. So if our construction is instantiated with Elgamal, so our reporting costs can be kept very small. And finally, tracing only requires one additional decryption, so compares favourably to Buto et al.'s accountable ring signature construction. Okay, so our final contribution extends our report and trace construction to a setting where the tracer must receive multiple reports in order to trace the signer. We include this extension to provide protection against a colluding reporter and tracer. So briefly, our multiple reporter construction requires that the reporter token is split into n shares using a threshold secret sharing scheme, where we say that n is the size of the ring. Each share is encrypted under the public reporter key for each ring member, and a zero-knowledge proof of correct encryption of each share is generated. The signer's identity is then encrypted under a double layer of encryption, and a signature of knowledge is generated as in our single reporter construction. Then, to report a message, the reporter decrypts the reporter token share and generates a zero-knowledge proof of correct decryption. The report is submitted to the tracer, and upon receipt of a threshold of reports, the tracer combines the shares to recover the reporter token and decrypts the signer's identity as in our single reporter construction. So, to conclude, in this work, we defined report and trace ring signatures and presented a security model. We then presented a generic construction and proved that it is secure. We instantiated our construction and then extended our new primitive to the multiple reporter setting. Additionally, in our paper, we contextualized our new primitive, comparing to related primitives from the literature, including various group signatures, ring signatures, and dedicated reporting systems. We also discussed the efficiency of our construction and instantiation and presented potential improvements that may increase efficiency. So, provided some reference, and thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed this talk.